Okay, we are live. Hey, Simon, nice to see you.
Yeah, and you. Good to be live, to be fair. Don't often do a live.
Yeah, these are fun. For those of you who are just tuning in or maybe start to tune in, I'm Paris from Hop AI and GEO Forge, and I'm joined by Simon Young from Question Marketing. And today we're going to kick off what might become a series, hopefully, and it's going to be about helping one of Simon's clients, a company called Stitch AI, to dramatically improve its AI visibility in as short of a period of time as possible using our GEO Forge platform. So this is going to be a build in public exercise where we're going to dig into the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're not going to try to sugarcoat anything here. And we're going to start to go through the journey, starting with how we understand this business and assessing the challenges and the opportunities ahead. So with that, Simon, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Simon. Met Paris, a couple of months ago. So really interesting to understand his insight and the tools that he's got and everything that's going to go on in the AEO, GEO space. One of my clients, well, I've been in SEO since day dot, so I have a lot more grey hair than most people. Been through all of that, all the good stuff, the bad stuff, done the black hat stuff, and I've been talking about the way that search is changing for 6-7 years now. I've been working a lot on, hence my LinkedIn URL is /AEO. So I've been talking about the answers and the questions a lot, and therefore ended up at question.marketing as my new brand and how I'm going to push forward as a business. I've got a few clients that I'm working on in terms of pushing people into the AI and LLM search arena, because I'm seeing a lot of those. We sort of saw a lot of those over the last year dropping off in terms of clicks, which those clicks aren't necessarily ending up on the website anymore. So that's the bit I love and like. Stitch, one of my clients, they work in the WhatsApp space. They're a communication platform, and they don't have a lot of share of voice in LLM at the moment. So it's interesting to see if we can do it in the wild, so we'll show people whether it works, when it works, what doesn't work, what tools we're using, and how that moves the needle. Because I've seen so many people, I don't know about you, Paris, but I've seen so many people talking about this subject on LinkedIn. Even yesterday, I called somebody out on a set of results. I don't know whether you saw it, but there was a set of results published that showed hundreds and hundreds of referrals from AI onto their site. And then I said to the guy, it'd be really interesting if you show me which client that is. Now, personally, had I made the results up, I might have said, well, I'm under NDA and I can't tell you the client. But the person then said, who said they were real results? And I'm like, wow, we're in that sort of era of search now and SEO, or now.
Yeah,
I think
it feels like SEO in around 2010, I would say, or maybe even a little bit earlier. The very beginning of SEO, it feels like the Wild West, where no one is really sure yet how do we do it and how do we measure it, but we're all sure that this is a real channel. So if there's one thing that's established, is that this is not a flash in the pan. This is not going to be something that goes away in a few months. This is the emergence of a new channel that comes around maybe once in 10 years. We had, of course, the internet and search, which brought SEO and then paid. Then we had social media. And then, of course, mobile shook that up. I think this is really as big. I would lump it into the whole AI movement. But GEO, and we're going to be calling it GEO primarily because that's the name that we went with for our product, GEO Forge. But a lot of the industry calls it AEO or AI search. It's the real deal. And I think right now what we have is we have a lot of practitioners, a lot of former SEOs, and a lot of other people that are jumping into this game, trying to act like they have a long history with this, because they realize that this is the real deal. But no one really knows yet what is the exact game plan of the playbook to succeed and to win. We're all feeling our way through it. And also, how do we measure it? Because the measurement here is a lot harder than with SEO, because we don't have the clicks anymore, frankly. So what are we going to do?
We end up with hopefully a proper marketing stack, in that people continually see your brand. But then, like you say, we don't have the attribution layer. Not that everybody uses that attribution layer properly anyway, but another bugbear of mine. But we see people ending up on a site or placing an inquiry, but attributing that's a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Well, let's stay with that for a minute, just so that our audience can understand it a little bit better. With AI, we're really increasingly dealing with a zero-click reality, which means that people are getting their answers from AI without having to click in through the 10 blue links from Google. And what that means is that they still will eventually make their way to your business, most likely to your website, and they still will probably convert downstream, but you won't be able to track that through a click from a search result page. It might come through indirect visit. Somebody might go and Google your brand name and come through that way. They may actually Google your brand name and click on the ad that you have against your brand name or against the related keyword. They might type your URL directly in if they know it. There are many, many ways that they can arrive, which are not easy to trace back to that LLM chat conversation. And so in my view, the most important way to measure success with this new channel of GEO is to do your best to ask every customer, prospect, or lead that comes through the door as early as possible, either in a form or over the phone. Ask them, how did you hear about us? How did you find out about our brand? And give them a set of options. One of those should be AI chat with, let's say, some examples like ChatGPT and Gemini. And then the rest could be the classic word of mouth, referral, Google search, social media, got an email or something like that. And see what they select. And then flow all that information into your CRM and then set a baseline. What we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be baselining Stitch's starting share of voice from our tool. And it starts with that. And if it's not going to be perfect, but you want to see the trend line over time. So we are going to be talking about share of voice, and that's the primary KPI right now in this industry. But despite that, I do believe that every new marketing channel's ultimate ROI is about how much revenue and sales pipeline it can deliver. And right now, the way to get that is to ask the customers and ask the prospects, how did you hear about us? And we hope that they remember. We have set
that up already on Stitch. So, as per your instruction, we've got the drop downs. It'd be interesting to see if people are selecting AI search. We haven't gone so far as to listing out the different engines. So, I think AI search as a baseline will do to now.
Yeah. So, Simon, why don't we look at Stitch and try to get an understanding of the business before we dive into the GEO Forge setup. I'm going to share their website on the screen here. And let's see if that should be coming up. All right. So do you want to give a quick overview about what Stitch does in the competitive landscape here?
Yeah. So these guys are a WhatsApp communication channel. I think we struggled a little bit of what the name of that vertical is. Whether it be business communication solutions or a WhatsApp specific channel name. But essentially, we're moving into a world where obviously Meta bought WhatsApp, paid $19 billion for it. So they don't intend to lose it or not monetize it. And I've been doing a lot of work with a lot of clients in terms of using WhatsApp messaging as a comms channel. Especially now that we're seeing email as something that just doesn't get opened, or it's very hard to get it into somebody's inbox. So a lot of companies are turning to using WhatsApp. One of the challenges is that if you've got WhatsApp business, this is not the same thing. So WhatsApp business on your phone, it's probably a smaller business. If you want to use it at scale across an enterprise or plugged into a CRM system, this is what Stitch does. So it plugs into a CRM, enables you to send bulk messaging, enables you to do AI chats between customers, respond to leads really quickly. They work in a lot of different verticals, principally things like estate agency, automotive, trade counters, all sorts. But it's a comms channel.
Yep. And one of the ways that I learned about it was actually looking at the pricing page and digging into this comparison. And so this is really the key features. Make that a little bit larger. One of the things that you said that was interesting, Simon, when you introduced me to this brand, is that the really killer feature here that most people are looking for when they start this journey is this bulk broadcasting. So what they want to do is they want to send WhatsApp messages out to customers or to prospects at scale. And did I get that right?
So that's normally one of the first searches that people will make. In terms of, if you're a marketing manager and you're sat there and somebody's saying, well, I'm using WhatsApp and I'm communicating at scale with thousands of people using WhatsApp, the search term that comes up is bulk WhatsApp. It's not normally what Stitch would market themselves as. It's one of the features, and it's probably like, if we were running a funnel, this would be the bottom of the funnel to say to people, right, this is one of the features within it. And it's something that gets searched really, there's loads of searches for that. The more interesting thing is when we get into the CRM integrations and the ability to have what's called coexistence. So coexistence is the fact you can have it on your devices as well as in the app or the CRM. So it's a complicated one to get some people to understand exactly all the features that it can do, but Meta are actively moving a lot of businesses into using WhatsApp now. Okay.
So if we put this in the context of the prompt discovery exercise that we're starting with, because our goal is to come up with a set of prompts that we're going to track. And we're going to track the share of voice, which means the mentions of the brand or citation appearances relative to all the other competitors. And what you've described is that most people, the initial awareness of the problem that most people have when it comes to using WhatsApp for their business and for sales and marketing is this bulk broadcasting feature, and that they have lower level of awareness on the more intricate features like the CRM integration and those things. So what we did, what I'm thinking of is that a lot of the prompt discovery should start with this kind of bulk WhatsApp as a hook, and just to get people into the website to make them aware of Stitch. And then later they can get more educated once they have really gotten into the funnel. And as we were talking on one of our previous calls, we were trying to define the category. What category do they play in? And we went to G2 to try to find this category. And we landed on a competitor here called Wati, if you remember these guys.
Yeah.
And Wati is, if we look at their, let's see. This is the company. I'm going to back into the category that they're in here. Here we have.
So I think they're trying to list the customer engagement, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. These are their reviews. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to back up one level in the hierarchy, and we've got conversational support software. So this is the category that Wati is in, and we're pretty sure Wati is a direct competitor. So now we have this kind of category, and I do strongly suggest that Stitch sets up a G2 profile in the same category. But let's get back into Wati, because we were going to try to look at Wati's reviews. They have 500 reviews here, and we were going to try to use this as a place where we could mine some prompts. So what our team did, Sveti from our team, is she went through these reviews using Claude and read through all 500 reviews and paid specific attention to the instances where WhatsApp is mentioned. And you can see that WhatsApp, as we scroll through these reviews, is featured really prominently in almost every review because that is the core of this tool. And what we wanted to try to uncover is the voice of the customer. How do people describe the value, or how do people even pose questions as they are writing these reviews? so that we can reflect those same questions and that same sentiment back into the prompts. And what that gave us is, now I'm gonna move into the GEO Forge. Let's go there.
Just before you carry on as well, there's, this isn't new, right? In terms of how you should be talking to customers, it's go and find out what people are saying in those sales calls or in the reviews or in, anything that any interaction you're having with a customer. We should all be recording it, right?
Absolutely. It's a great point. And you actually reminded me of something that before we look at the prompts, I want to show the knowledge base and the sheer volume of knowledge base that you, Simon, built here in 1 or 2 days this week. So let's jump in. This is Base Forge, which is the knowledge base module of GEO Forge. And this is actually the foundation for everything, because all content that is generated is grounded in this knowledge base. This is how we ensure that there's no AI slop, that there are no hallucinations, and that the content that comes out and that gets published has high information gain for AI crawlers. And I think you set a record here, Simon, because...
Did I?
Well, so far for us, we've never seen this amount of volume, but you uploaded 1,335 files, and I think you did this in about a 24-hour period. From what I can tell, these are sales call recordings primarily. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
And I can get you a load more if you want, but I think maybe we'll start where we're at.
I think this is a good starting point. But what this does is this gives us, phenomenal head start into creating content that is going to reflect the voice of the customer and train AI crawlers who are going to come and crawl and read that content, train them on how Stitch's customers speak. It's the language of this category. So that hopefully down the road, ChatGPT can effectively become Stitch's best sales rep, actually, because they're going to recognize questions that they've seen already, and they're going to give the correct answers. So this is outstanding. And there's one other thing I wanted to point out, which is this concept of information gain. We have 2 scores here next to every file upload. You can see IGC and IGM. The one that is the most important is IGM, which stands for information gain model. And that is basically the prediction of how much new knowledge that this file contains that has not yet already been trained into AI's models. So that effectively means that we have an opportunity with an 84% information gain score to be able to train AI models with new content that they haven't yet slurped up through their internet crawling and basically baked into their pre-training. That's great, because then they will cite us for that content. That's the reward. We give it the training, they give us back the brand recognition.
I wanted to, before you carry on, I had a really funny experience yesterday. For me, I'm an AI geek. I love all this stuff, but others may not find it as funny as I did. We were sat in a meeting yesterday with a client, 5 or 6 people around the table, and I was explaining to them about the need to have unique content in their socials and in their knowledge bases, and take everything out of their head and put it onto, I said, put it onto paper. And then I said, well, obviously not paper, right? But I then mentioned AI slop, and everybody around the table just started giggling. And I was like, what's going on? And one of the senior managers there went, no, you've not said anything bad. It's just that everybody we talk to is talking about AI slop at the moment.
Yeah, that is the buzzword. Just a second. It's funny how whenever I'm going live, I always have someone banging outside of the window. So I've got to shut the window, turn on the AC, unfortunately. But AI slop is probably the marketing word for 2026. I don't know if there's a phrase that I've heard more. If there was some kind of a dictionary of a word of the year dictionary for marketing, I think it's AI slop.
100%. Even LinkedIn have it as a drop down now, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. It would just that's going to lead to some serious abuse. I mean, you're going to let your entire LinkedIn user base try to determine what's AI slop, and what happens if 90% of it is actually AI generated? What is LinkedIn going to?
Well, you would hope. You and I would personally hope that LinkedIn has got the ability to spot all AI slop on its own without people having to report it, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure they have some tools, and I guess now Anthropic's new watermark, which was announced recently, that's going to make things a lot easier as well. I don't know if you caught that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And even I posted something on LinkedIn yesterday about Google local business pages and places not now allowing AI generated images. So there is some pushback coming across the whole space.
Yeah. Well, we can definitely thank the EU and EU regulators for that nice move, forcing Anthropic to be the first one to watermark, and I think the others will probably follow. But here's my take on this. Yeah.
Then you just need the tool that removes the watermark, right? But anyway, no one would do that.
Yeah. And you still need a tool to verify that it is AI. And then to what extent is it AI? Was AI used as a light touch editor at the end? Was AI used to generate every single word from the first draft to the end? Was it somewhere in the middle? So yeah, there's a scale there. There are different degrees. So if you're LinkedIn, where do you drop the hammer? Because LinkedIn also had its own, up until recently, it had its own AI enhance button to enhance your own post. So they were playing the game too. So it's really interesting times. And my take on all this is that Google and the rest, they don't care if you've generated content with AI. What they care about is, have you contributed information gain? Have you added something new to the conversation that represents your real opinion, your real point of view, or an expert's point of view that's grounded in real experience? So you can think of it as the classic EEAT acronym: experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, in the lens of SEO, or in this new lens, information gain. If you contribute information gain that can teach models and humans new things that come from your unique perspective, and it was generated with AI, because that just helps you to produce that content faster and more efficiently, more power to you. I mean, I think that's where it comes down to.
Gaps, right?
Right. So at first I was a little bit worried that, all right, this Anthropic watermark might really spell doom for GEO Forge, particularly our content module, Content Forge. Generates content using Sonnet 5. And, that could be problematic if that watermark follows the content through the API, which supposedly it does. But I still believe information gain rules. If we can source through, just like what we're showing here, recorded sales calls where questions that have never been asked before are asked and answered accurately by knowledgeable sales reps. If we can flow that information gain into content, it does not matter if that content was generated with AI, because we are contributing new knowledge to the corpus, and we will be rewarded for that and not penalized because of the method of production. So that's my mini rant on that before we move on.
If you went back, years and years in SEO, and you said to somebody, well, you'd be talking eventually about building a knowledge base. We didn't used to refer to it as that, but creating good old blogs. If you were making blogging regularly with interesting topics that people decide to land on and then read and digest and spend time on, that sort of signal to Google was great. And we're not far away from, it's the same principle.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So here's BaseForge. We're off to I think, a phenomenal start with a huge corpus of knowledge. And now what we're going to look at is the prompts, because we were talking about the prompts that we were trying to figure out. How are people who have different degrees of awareness of this category, how are they searching? Some people might not know that there are tools that can leverage the WhatsApp Business API. Some people may not even know what WhatsApp Business can do for them at all. And there are other people that know about the tools that exist, and they need help to find the right tool. So there's top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of the funnel. And we set out to try to have a pretty good spread across these 30 prompts to cover top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. And I'm not going to go through these in detail, but these generally represent all the stages of a buyer's journey from a business owner or a business user. And of course, we are limited to 30 prompts. We had to draw the line somewhere. In reality, there are probably an infinite number of ways to ask these types of questions. And what we want to do is just try to have a representative sampling, understanding that there are always going to be limitations.
And having spent a fair bit of time with you, I just wanted to cover that little piece as well there, where you said, we're limited to 30. Now, I don't know the answer to this, but if we were to go back to the good old SEO days, we'd go, right, we're going to try and optimize for 30 different keywords or phrases. Now, once you'd done that and achieved it and you were in the top results, you would then sort of enter a maintenance mode where you would continually just top up those. Is there a scenario in, GeoForge where we achieve, amazing results, and then we can then move on to some other prompts? Does it work like that or not?
We can do that, but that would mean cycling out prompts. Let's say if we have prompts that have sat at 100% share of voice for weeks and weeks or months, and we know that we really own them. Yeah. It would be the equivalent of sitting in position 1 and in the SEO world and having it locked down. We would recycle that and replace it with another prompt that we want to win for, that we don't have the equivalent of a #1 ranking, or we don't have 100% share of voice. So we are limited right now in total to 30 prompts, and we can cycle them in and out. The good news is, I don't know if this is good news, but the share of voice for Stitch is very low for these prompts. In fact, only 1 out of 30 is Stitch mentioned in the answer. Now we did 10 runs, so this is not based on just one try or one attempt at running each prompt, but we ran the prompts 10 times each to try to level out the noise and the variability and achieve a lower statistical margin of error, which is a very important concept for us. So our margin of error here is 3.3%, which is pretty tight. And what this is showing us is that we have a lot of work to do. We've won on only 1 out of 30 of these prompts. And over the next 60 days, Simon, our goal is to win as many as possible. We want to get mentioned in the answer where brands are being mentioned. And when that is not the case, we want to be cited as a source where AI is showing the sources. Typically, that's in the right-hand panel, as you normally see in ChatGPT. And by the way, to make it clear, we're measuring in ChatGPT, Google AI overviews, and Google AI mode only. So this does not include Gemini, Grok, Claude, who else? The long list of also rans, but this does, I think, for consumers, ChatGPT is far and away #1 right now. And of course, Google is now showing AI overviews for, the last statistic that I've heard is something like 60 to 65% of SERPs are showing AI overviews when their search query has informational intent.
And nearly always, when there's a question, always, I would imagine.
Yeah. So these are the ones that we care about most. Google AI mode, I think, is waiting in the wings to kind of take over once they sunset AI overviews. We don't know when that's going to happen, but AI mode is gaining market share. So I think what we're doing is saying, realistically, we can't measure everything, but we're going to measure 30 prompts that we think is a good sample. And we're going to measure them across these 3 LLMs that have the large majority of conversation share right now. And this is what it looks like. We have a single point, and once we revisit this over time, we're going to start to see a trend line. This data is going to update every 7 days from here on, and I hope it's going to be all up and to the right. But we're going to find out the hard way.
We are,
and then we're going to start producing some content very soon as well. So we have about a minute left, Simon, and I want to forecast for our audience where we could go next here. And that's going to be to start creating content against all of these, this huge knowledge base with all these sales call transcripts. I'm going to have the system generate the first 10 topics here, and I'm just going to eyeball them, and then we can wrap up with final comments. But what's happening right now is that there is an independent AI agent that is reading the knowledge base, and it's also looking at those prompts, those 30 prompts, and it's seeing that we basically have 0 share of voice in 29 out of the 30 of those prompts. And its goal is to recommend topics that will help us to achieve higher share of voice for those prompts where we have gaps, where we're losing, which is most. and it's going to look for supporting evidence or supporting grounding in these topics from the knowledge base. So it's going to look into all those sales call transcripts and ask, do we have data in here? Do we have information in here with first-party data that can support these topics? And if so, then we're going to suggest that topic for production. And I thought this was going to happen a little bit faster, but let's let it run for a little bit. It's thinking, and it's probably the reason it's going a little bit longer than I expected. Oh, here it comes. But it's just because of the sheer size of that knowledge base. But this is a mix of FAQ pages, blog posts, case studies, and how-to posts. So here we are. Is Stitch AI a Meta Business Partner? That's interesting. What is Message Box? That is the feature of
that's their branded product.
Stitch.
Yes.
How's it related to Stitch AI? How central lettings move from individual WhatsApp accounts to branch-wide team inboxes. That's a case study. That's going to be great. So if you allow me, I'm going to generate this as a draft, Simon.
Yeah, cool.
And we probably won't have time to see it. It might take a few minutes. But one thing that I noticed from Stitch's website is they did not have any real case studies. They had testimonials and snippets from people, but not real case studies. So I think we need to start building case studies. We need to build comparison pages of them versus competitors, showing where they win. And I would, generally start at trying to address a lot of these questions that we saw in the prompts themselves. And I believe that's what the system is going to do. And,
but even with the wish in most businesses to publish case studies, you give that task to somebody in a marketing department, it's a chunk of work, even if they are using AI tools to help them. And it requires a lot of thought. So that's typically why you'd probably see an awful lot of websites, maybe with just a handful of case studies.
Yeah. So our system is going to hopefully generate a lot of case studies out of this massive mountain of sales call transcripts, because I assume some of those are also with customers and they're actually talking about real data. One thing I want to point out here with case studies and in general is that the content by nature is designed to identify and to filter out any sensitive data. So we're not going to be displaying the names of any customers here or any personally identifiable information. We're just going to be talking about the actual results and trying to distill the knowledge and the learning from the knowledge base. All right. Well, Simon, I think we're not going to be able to go into the first draft. Let's leave that for the next session. But we did cover a lot of ground today, and I'm really encouraged. I kind of like the fact that we're starting from a very humble place here with a 3% share of voice. It means we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a short runway, but we're hopefully going to generate a lot of content, and we're going to build a lot of offsite citations, and we're going to see how quickly we can get AI to recognize this brand and to give us love in these conversations, and we're going to measure it right here.
I don't think you can put enough emphasis on, I don't know, we will probably talk more about it, but the creation of that set of prompts and what we want to be found for, that's so important. That's the piece that a lot of businesses will probably get wrong. And then obviously being able to measure where you sit, that's not something I've really seen anybody be able to do properly at all. So, that's what brought me to you, and hopefully we'll have a great result for these guys. Yeah.
Well, let's see, and we'll do this again soon, and we'll let everybody in the LinkedIn community know. Before we sign off, I'm just going to take a look if we have any questions here. We do have a live audience, but I don't see any questions that came up during the live recording. So for those listening, I hope you tune in next time and ask questions in the comments, because we are going to be looking at them and we're going to try to address them in real time.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thanks for your time.
All right. Yeah. Well, almost 35 minutes flew by, Simon. So we definitely need to do this again soon, and we'll keep everybody updated.
Good stuff.
All right. You have a great weekend, Simon.
And you. See you soon.
All right. Take care.